Earlier this year, we had the privilege of meeting Cristina. What is confirmed by this story is that giving a helping hand, a brighter place to live, a hug, and a smile not only lifts our spirits, but it heals the body and the soul. It changes all of us. Meet Cristina.
My name is Cristina Gassner, and let me tell you the story. It's kind of a long story. It actually starts back in May of 2018. I ended up in the hospital with bleeding, and I ended up with being diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And at the time I had the surgery, I didn't have chemotherapy. The outcome was not very good, and I figured I wanted the quality of life versus quantity. So I chose not to do chemotherapy. I just basically went through and changed my diet and tried to do everything naturally, the best that I could. But it wasn't enough. It was coming into February of this year, I started having digestive issues. And, you know, with that, I went to the emergency room twice over at Ascension, and then I ended up in Beaumont in March. So it was about a month and a half I was having this issue, where they found that I actually had large bowel obstruction. So where I had my surgery from 2018, that surgical site closed up, and I was basically blocked, so I couldn't go urinate or anything. So they had to do surgery, emergency surgery, and where I had a colostomy bag put in. And once I was done with that, I came home, but they discovered that I had a bladder mass, which ended up being colon cancer that went to my bladder. So I had surgery in April 10th of this year to remove the mass from my bladder. And at this time, when I was in the hospital in March, my sister was going through a domestic violence with her husband, and she was living with my brother. And with this happening with me, I knew I couldn't take care of myself. I was really weak after this surgery. So I had asked her if she would come and basically stay with me to help me, because I couldn't cook, I couldn't really do anything, and I had a lot of pain. So she came home, or we came back, and she lived with me, and she's still with me now, and she's really been helping me out. But my place, when I moved into it, it was really kind of, I was going through a domestic violence situation as well, so I ended up in this like 2.5 years ago, and I knew it wasn't the best condition, but I really didn't have anywhere else to go. I had 3 days to get away from where I was living, so I ended up here. So when my sister moved in, you know, I kept telling her that I have a lot of water leaks because I had somebody put a roof on last year, which they didn't put the right roof on, and they actually created more damage by putting nails in. Now I have even more water leaks. And with my health being the way it was, I needed help. So my sister happened to go to Home Depot, and she likes to talk and tell people the stories and just chit-chat, and they recommended that we contact the city of Rochester Hills because they have a grant for low income. So when she did that, I realized that last year I had a fire department come out and put in a smoke detector for me. And I was given the name of the person, Denise, at the Rochester Hills City Hall to actually contact for this, but I didn't do anything at that point. I really didn't understand what it was all about. So when my sister came home, I'm like, you know, I have her number, and I pulled it up. I still had it, gave it to her. She called Denise. And within 10 minutes, Denise called us back. And, you know, we told her what was going on, and she told us we can come in and fill out an application. The very next day, 2 gentlemen show up at my door, and they knock, and it was Rick and Bob with FaithWorks. Now they came in, we were confused because we were thinking, are they with the city, or we're not sure what FaithWorks is, so we're like, we weren't sure, but we accepted them, and they came in. So they helped me. They fixed a water leak, they fixed my front door, they put grab bars in, and we're still confused as to who they were, even though they told us, but we couldn't separate the two, the city and from FaithWorks. So a little bit of time went on, and then they introduced me to Dan. So they talked about the city. The city came out, and they realized that it's going to cost more. Fixing the roof wasn't going to fix it a lot. I mean, there was so many other issues. So that's when they determined that Dan should come out, because it's probably better to get a new home than it is to try to fix this one. So Dan came out, and he's so tall. I was like, I think all the guys at Faithwork must be tall people, because he was big. And he came in and he sat down in my little chair. It was so cute. And then he asked me, he's like, how are you doing with this? And the way he asked me was like, nobody really asked you how you're handling it. It's just, you tell the story with my surgery. And he made me cry. But it was a good cry. So that was my first experience with Dan. So he asked me about church. Do I believe in Jesus? And I'm like, well, I don't want to say I do, because I'm really confused, because you have so many stories, so many different things coming. I'm like, I wasn't raised with religion, so I didn't know. I was honest with them. I said, I'm confused. It really is like the difference between, is it God? Is it Jesus? I mean, who is it? And what is the role? So he talked with me about it. And I'm like, okay. And then he actually, at a later date, had his friend Chad come out. And Chad came out and he actually explained, like, knowing of Jesus and knowing Jesus. There's two different things. And I'm like, I couldn't understand the difference. But Chad put it in such words that I'm like, I get it. I get it now. I understand what you're saying. So, I didn't know what to believe. When they said they're going to get me a new home, I'm like, do people do that? I really didn't think, because I've never had it done. So I'm like, I'll wait until I see it, because I don't get too excited, be disappointed. This trailer here, what I don't like about this is actually I love being in the back of the park, but being in the back of the park, it's very wet. Basically all this back area here will get really wet, and it's almost in the middle of the summer before it starts to dry out. So under my trailer, it's always damp. There's always moisture underneath there, and at this point, I've got a lot of carpenter ants, which tells me there's a lot of rotted wood. And that right now is the issue, and I have a lot of leaks. There's, in the roof, you can see in the trailer where the water's coming through, and it's kind of being held up there. There's plastic and then the ceiling tile, but you can tell it's leaking through there, and it's getting wet at this point. There's the kitchen floor is not finished. It's just plywood. Part of it's plywood, part of it's, linoleum. I don't have any kitchen drawers. It was so wet in there underneath the sink that part was torn out. After we moved in, we had to tear it out. So I don't have that. I don't have carpet down the hallway in the bedrooms. I took it all out because of the mold. So at this point, in the back bedroom's not finished. There's leaks coming through the ceiling in there. Whereas now moving over to the new place, once they show me that, it actually is in an area where it's more populated. There's a lot more neighbors. But the thing is, it's actually a good thing for me. I think I have a tendency to isolate myself, and I think being with other people is probably a good thing at this point. I'm really realizing that people aren't as bad as I thought. I think as a veteran, I'm kind of a little bit paranoid, maybe a little bit, but I'm like, I need people. I realized that when I'm looking back at this, I think, you know what? I didn't do what I was supposed to do. God gave me a chance. I didn't die with that stage 4 cancer and that bleeding that I had. But I wasn't making necessary changes too. I changed my diet, but I didn't tell people about my cancer. I didn't talk to people. But then once FaithWorks came in and everybody's so happy, I'm like, wow, this is kind of great. So now I'm actually looking forward to meeting neighbors, interacting and watching the kids. The place is beautiful. It's clean. It's a 3-bedroom. My sister gets her own room, and she gets a bathroom, and I get a bathroom. And the best thing is it's clean and it's fresh, and I'm going to be able to, I feel like I can heal there. This has a negative feeling for me in this house, where that one, there's so much love put in. I went there one day when there was like 10 people from another church that were just painting away, having a great time. I gave everybody hugs. And I can feel it. I haven't seen or felt happy like this in years. It's been years. And when I saw what everybody's doing, it's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, they put new windows in. They have new wood floors. They put laminate floors throughout. In the bathroom, there's new linoleum. They went through, the church people are so wonderful. They went through and cleaned everything. And I'm just so excited, very excited.
We could tell you and show you more testimonials and stories. The list is long. But instead, we invite you to join our journey with prayers and support, because we all need to make a difference in someone's life. Thank you.